The intercepted cry for help, Captain. Sarah Chen floated through the observation deck of Beacon 7, her magnetic boots clicking softly against the metal floor. The deep space monitoring station hung silently at the edge of humanity's solar system. Its massive arrays pointed toward the distant stars. For 3 years, Sarah had commanded this outpost, listening for signals from the void. Today felt different. The alarm chimed softly through the station's corridors. Sarah pushed off from the viewport and glided toward the command center, where Dr. Marcus Webb hunched over his workstation. The communications specialist's dark hair was disheveled, and his coffee cup sat forgotten beside a stack of printouts. "What do you have, Marcus?" Sarah asked, settling into her command chair. Marcus looked up, his eyes bright with excitement and concern. "Captain, we've intercepted something extraordinary. It's definitely artificial, definitely alien, and definitely a distress call." Sarah felt her heart skip. In 3 years of monitoring, they had detected nothing but cosmic background radiation and the occasional pulsar. "Show me." The main display activated, showing a complex waveform pattern. Strange harmonics danced across the screen, rising and falling in patterns that seemed almost musical. Then came the translation, scrolling across a secondary monitor in clean, simple text. "To any who receive this message, we are the Kepler colony of the Altarian Republic. Our sun is dying ahead of schedule. Solar radiation has increased by 40% in the past solar cycle. Our shields are failing. 7 billion souls face extinction within one planetary rotation. We have no ships capable of evacuation. If anyone receives this, please help us. We are located in what you might call the Kepler 442 system. Time is running out." Sarah stared at the message, reading it twice. 7 billion people. An entire civilization facing death. She turned to Lieutenant Jake Torres at the navigation station. "Jake, where is Kepler 442? Torres worked quickly, his fingers dancing over the star charts. After a moment, he looked up with a grim expression. 120 light-years away, Captain. Even at maximum full drive speed, it would take our fastest ships 3 months to reach them." 3 months, Sarah repeated softly. The message had taken 120 years to reach them. Whatever was happening there might already be over. Dr. Webb cleared his throat. "Captain, there's something else. The message contains technical specifications for their shield technology and detailed information about their solar system. Either they're incredibly trusting, or they're desperate enough to share everything with anyone who might help." Sarah studied the technical readouts scrolling past. The alien technology was different from human engineering, but not incomprehensible. Their shield generators operated on principles similar to Earth's magnetic field projectors, just on a massive scale. "Can we help them?" she asked. Torres pulled up fleet deployment charts. "The 7th Fleet is currently on patrol near Proxima Centauri. If we recalled them immediately and added the construction ships from the Titan shipyards, we might be able to mount a rescue operation. But Captain, the logistics alone..." 7 billion people, Jake. "Yes, ma'am. 7 billion. Sarah activated the long-range communicator. Admiral Catherine Hayes appeared on the screen, her stern face showing the weariness of someone who had been awakened at an unusual hour. "Captain Chen, this better be important. Admiral, we've received an alien distress call. A civilization is facing extinction and they're asking for help." Hayes sat up straighter. "Alien? You're certain?" "Absolutely. Dr. Webb has verified the signal's authenticity. The technology patterns are completely foreign to human engineering, but the mathematical principles are universal. They're real, they're intelligent, and they're dying." Sarah transmitted the message and supporting data. She watched Hayes read through the information, her expression growing more serious with each line. 120 light-years, Hayes said finally. "That's the farthest we've ever attempted to send a fleet. The fold drives weren't designed for journeys of that duration." "But they could make it?" Hayes was quiet for a long moment. "Theoretically, yes. But we'd be committing nearly every ship we have to a rescue mission for people we've never met, in a part of the galaxy we've never explored." 7 billion people, Admiral. Hayes smiled grimly. You sound like you're volunteering, Captain. If you'll have me. Beacon 7 has the most advanced communication arrays in the fleet. If we're going to coordinate a rescue across 120 light-years, you'll need my equipment. And your expertise, Hayes added. Very well. I'll contact the President and the Colonial Council. If they approve this mission, you'll be our communications liaison. But Chen, you understand what we're talking about? This isn't just a rescue mission. This is first contact with an alien civilization. Sarah nodded. I understand, Admiral. But they called for help. How can we do anything else? After Hayes signed off, Sarah floated in her command chair, staring at the alien message still scrolling across her screens. Dr. Webb approached carrying a fresh cup of coffee. Captain, I've been thinking about the transmission frequency they used. It's almost identical to our own emergency broadcast spectrum. Either that's an incredible coincidence or they've been listening to our signals for a very long time. Sarah frowned. What are you suggesting? Maybe they know more about us than we know about them. Maybe this message wasn't sent blindly into space. Maybe they knew we were here and could receive it. Before Sarah could respond, Lieutenant Torres called out from his station. Captain, I'm detecting another signal from the same location. Much weaker, but it's definitely there. Sarah and Webb moved to Torres's station. The new signal was indeed faint, almost lost in the cosmic background noise. Webb worked to clean it up, filtering out interference and amplifying the core message. When the translation appeared, it made Sarah's blood run cold. Update to previous message. Planetary evacuation. Protocols have failed. Shield generators are operating at 12% capacity. Solar radiation levels now exceed safety thresholds by 300%. Agricultural systems have collapsed. We estimate 48 hours before complete infrastructure failure. If anyone receives this, please know that we tried. Our children will remember that someone out there might have cared. 48 hours. The message was 120 years old, but to Sarah, it felt like a countdown that was still ticking. Ma'am, Torres said quietly, there's something else. I've been analyzing the trajectory of both signals. They weren't broadcast randomly. Both messages were aimed directly at our solar system. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. They knew we were here. Yes, ma'am. Somehow they knew exactly where to send their call for help. 3 hours later, Admiral Hayes called back. Behind her on the screen, Sarah could see the bustling activity of fleet headquarters. Officers moved with purpose, carrying data pads and speaking in urgent whispers. Captain Chen, the President has authorized the mission. We're designating it Operation Lighthouse. Every available ship is being recalled and prepared for long-range deployment. Construction vessels, medical ships, transport carriers, and enough military escort to handle whatever we might find out there. Sarah felt a surge of pride in her species. Humanity had always been explorers, but this was different. This was pure compassion on an interstellar scale. How long until departure? She asked. 72 hours. The engineers are modifying the fold drives for extended range operation. It's never been attempted before, but our simulations show it's possible. Your station will be equipped with a mobile communication array and attached to the flagship Endeavour. Understood. Admiral, we'll be ready. Hayes paused, her expression thoughtful. Sarah, I want you to understand something. We're not just going to rescue these people. We're announcing humanity's presence to the galaxy. After this mission, we won't be alone anymore. The implications are enormous. Sarah nodded. I understand, but they asked for help. That's who we are, isn't it? We help when we can. Yes, Hayes said softly. I suppose it is. As the transmission ended, Sarah turned to her crew. Dr. Webb was still working on the alien signals, trying to extract every bit of information possible. Torres was calculating flight paths and fuel requirements for a journey no human had ever attempted. Around them, the station hummed with activity as they prepared for the greatest adventure in human history. Sarah activated the station's intercom. All hands, this is the captain. In 72 hours, we begin a journey to the Kepler 442 system to answer a distress call from an alien civilization. We don't know what we'll find when we get there. We don't know if we'll be in time to help. but we know that 7 billion people asked for help. And that's exactly what we're going to give them. This is what humanity does. This is who we are. She paused, looking out at the stars that no longer seemed so empty. Prepare for departure. We have people to save. Far across the galaxy, in the gleaming spires of the Confederation capital, an emergency session was in progress. The High Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from dozens of worlds tried to make sense of the reports flooding in from their monitoring stations. Ambassador HFY stood at the central podium, her crystalline features reflecting the chamber's lights. Her species had served as mediators for the Confederation for centuries, but she had never faced a crisis like this. Fellow representatives, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic systems. We have confirmed reports from 17 monitoring stations. A fleet of unknown vessels has departed from the Sol system, heading directly toward Kepler 442. A murmur ran through the assembly. The Sol system was classified as forbidden space, home to the species the Confederation had designated as Deathworlders centuries ago. Council leader Vorth stood, his massive frame imposing even among the diverse species present. Ambassador HFY, are you suggesting that the humans have somehow detected our mining operations distress call? That is correct, Council leader. Somehow, the emergency signal from Mining Station 7 reached Earth. The humans have interpreted it as a planetary extinction event and are mounting what appears to be a massive rescue operation. The chamber erupted in concerned voices. Representative Kayla from the Centauri Collective raised her arms for attention. This is a disaster. The humans have been quarantined for good reasons. They're violent, unpredictable, and dangerous. If they reach Confederation space, they're coming to help, HFY interrupted gently. Our own monitoring of their communications indicates they believe they are responding to a humanitarian crisis. Humanitarian crisis? Representative Thex laughed, a sound like grinding metal. It was a mining accident. Station 7 lost power to their environmental systems for 6 hours. No one died. No one was even seriously injured. HFY nodded, grimly. The humans don't know that. They think they're racing to save 7 billion lives. Council leader Vorth sat heavily in his chair. How long until they arrive? Our calculations suggest approximately 3 months, assuming their propulsion technology operates as we theorize. 3 months to decide how to handle first contact with the most dangerous species in known space, Vorth muttered. And they're coming because they want to help people they've never met. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. For centuries, the Confederation had maintained strict protocols about contact with developing species, especially those from high-gravity, high-radiation worlds like Earth. But now, those protocols were about to be tested by an act of pure compassion. Ambassador HFY looked around the chamber at the worried faces of her colleagues. Perhaps, she said softly, it's time we reconsidered our assumptions about the humans. After all, what kind of species travels 120 light-years to save strangers? When worlds collide. 3 months later, the human fleet emerged from fold space, at the edge of the Kepler 442 system with a brilliance that lit up every sensor array within 50 light-years. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Endeavour, watching as 47 ships materialized around them in perfect formation. The largest rescue fleet in human history had arrived. All ships report successful transition, announced Lieutenant Torres from his navigation station. Minimal drive stress, all systems operational. Admiral Hayes stepped up beside Sarah, her eyes fixed on the main display. Status report on the target system. Dr. Webb worked frantically at his communication station, trying to make sense of the data flooding in from their sensors. Admiral, I'm reading multiple artificial structures throughout the system, orbital platforms, mining stations, and what appears to be a significant population center on the 4th planet. Sarah felt a surge of hope. They're still alive? More than that, Webb continued, his voice filled with wonder. I'm detecting millions of artificial signals. Communication, Networks, power grids, transportation systems, this isn't a dying civilization, Admiral. This is a thriving one. Hayes frowned. Then why the distress call? Before anyone could answer, the communications array lit up with incoming signals. Dozens of them, all broadcasting on frequencies the humans recognized as standard diplomatic channels. Admiral Hayes, came a voice speaking perfect English. This is Ambassador Zexhai of the Galactic Confederation. We have been expecting you. The bridge fell silent. Sarah exchanged glances with Admiral Hayes, both thinking the same thing. They had been expected. Ambassador Zexhai, Hayes replied carefully. We received a distress call from this system. We've come to offer assistance. There was a pause before the alien responded. Yes, Admiral. We are aware of the circumstances that brought you here. There has been a misunderstanding. Would you be willing to send a representative to our diplomatic station? We have much to discuss. Hayes looked at Sarah, who nodded. We'll send a shuttle. But Admiral, I want to understand something first. The distress call we received indicated 7 billion people were facing extinction. Were we misinformed? Another pause, longer this time. The situation is complicated, Admiral Hayes. It would be better discussed in person. An hour later, Sarah found herself aboard a diplomatic shuttle with Colonel David Park, the fleet's senior ground forces commander. Park was a veteran of the Titan conflicts, a man who had seen humanity at its worst and best. As they approached the alien station, both humans stared in wonder at the structure before them. The station was vast, easily the size of a small moon, with graceful curves and flowing lines that spoke of an aesthetic sensibility completely foreign to human engineering. Ships of dozens of different designs moved around it in carefully choreographed patterns. My God, Park whispered. How many species are represented here? Sarah counted at least 20 different ship designs, each clearly from a different technological tradition. I think we're about to find out. The shuttle docked smoothly and they were greeted by Ambassador Zexhai herself. She was tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to be made of living crystal. Her movements were fluid, almost dance-like, and her eyes held an intelligence that was unmistakably ancient. Captain Chen, Colonel Park, she said, her voice melodic. Welcome to Confederation space. I am honored to meet representatives of humanity. Sarah stepped forward. Ambassador, we're glad to finally meet you. But I have to ask, why did you say you were expecting us? Zexhai gestured for them to follow her through corridors that seemed to glow with their own inner light. Because we sent the distress call that brought you here, Captain. Though not intentionally. She led them to a vast chamber where dozens of alien beings sat in a circular arrangement. Sarah recognized none of the species, but she could see intelligence in every face despite their exotic appearances. This is the High Council, Zexhai explained. Representatives from 63 worlds of the Confederation. We have been debating how to handle your arrival for 3 months. A massive being with scales and multiple arms stood up. I am Council Leader Vorth. Captain Chen, Colonel Park, I must ask you directly, why did you come here? Sarah was taken aback by the question. We received a distress call. People were in danger, we came to help. But you didn't know us, another representative said, this one with gossamer wings and large, multifaceted eyes. You had never encountered our species before. Why risk your ships and your lives for strangers? Park spoke up. Because that's what you do when someone asks for help. You help. The chamber fell silent. Sarah could feel the weight of dozens of alien gazes upon them. Council Leader Vorth sat back down slowly. For 3 centuries, the Confederation has maintained strict quarantine protocols around your system. We classified your world as a death world, your species as potentially dangerous. We believed contact would be catastrophic for both our civilizations. Sarah felt anger rising in her chest. You've been watching us? For 300 years? Yes, Zexhai said softly. And we were wrong. She activated a holographic display that showed the recent history of their monitoring. We saw your wars, your conflicts, your capacity for violence, but we failed to see your capacity for compassion. When Mining Station 7 suffered a power failure and sent out an emergency signal, It was accidentally broadcast on frequencies that could reach your system. We expected you to ignore it, or perhaps to investigate cautiously. Instead, Vorth continued, you mobilized your entire fleet to save people you had never met. You traveled farther than any human had ever gone, risking everything because you heard a cry for help. Park leaned forward. Mining station? The distress call mentioned 7 billion people facing extinction. A translation error, Zexhai admitted. The mining station has 7 billion processing units. Your computers interpreted this as 7 billion lives. In reality, it was a minor accident. No one was hurt. Sarah sat back, stunned. So we came all this way for nothing? No, said a small, six-armed being Sarah hadn't noticed before. You came because you heard someone calling for help. That tells us everything we need to know about your species. Ambassador Zexhai nodded. Captain Chen, Colonel Park, the Confederation, owes you an apology. We misjudged your people severely. Yes, you are capable of violence. Yes, your world is harsh by our standards. But you are also capable of extraordinary compassion. Council Leader Vorth stood again. Which brings us to the purpose of this meeting. The Confederation would like to formally invite humanity to join our alliance. Your fleet's arrival has changed everything. Sarah looked at Park, who appeared as stunned as she felt. Just like that? 3 centuries of quarantine, and now you want us to join? Your actions speak louder than our fears, Zexhai said. But there are conditions. Integration will be gradual. Cultural exchange programs, joint scientific ventures, diplomatic missions. We want to learn from each other. And, Vorth added with what might have been a smile, we could use your help. The galaxy is vast and there are many who call for aid. Perhaps it's time we learn to answer those calls as readily as you do. A month later, Sarah stood on the observation deck of Beacon 7, now permanently stationed in the Kepler system, as humanity's first embassy to the Confederation. Through the viewport, she could see construction ships from a dozen different species working together to build a joint research facility. Dr. Webb approached, carrying a steaming cup of coffee and a data pad. Captain, we're receiving signals from 17 different civilizations requesting assistance with various projects. Disaster relief, scientific research, exploration missions. Sarah smiled. And what does Admiral Hayes say about that? She says we better start building more ships. Colonel Park joined them, watching the construction work outside. You know, when we left Earth, we thought we were going to save an alien civilization. Instead, we ended up saving ourselves from centuries of isolation. Sarah nodded. It's funny how things work out. We answered a call for help that wasn't really a call for help and ended up finding our place in the galaxy. Speaking of which, Webb said, consulting his data pad, I've been analyzing the communication patterns from the Confederation monitoring stations. They've been watching us for 3 centuries, but they weren't the only ones. Sarah raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I mean there are at least 47 other civilizations out there that have been monitoring human transmissions, and based on the message traffic I'm intercepting, word about our rescue mission is spreading fast. Park grinned. So, we're famous? More than that, Webb replied. We're apparently the first species in recorded galactic history to mobilize a fleet in response to an accidental distress call from complete strangers. The Confederation is calling it the Great Misunderstanding that changed everything. Sarah laughed. I can think of worse ways to be remembered. As they watched, a new ship emerged from fold space. It was sleek and elegant, clearly of human design but incorporating alien technologies. The first of the new joint venture exploration vessels, equipped with the best of both human and Confederation science. Where is she heading? Sarah asked. Webb consulted his data pad. The Vega system. Apparently there's a civilization there that's been trying to contact the Confederation for 50 years. They've been too far away and too weak to reach anyone. Until now, Park added. Sarah activated the long-range communicator. UES Harmony. This is Captain Chen at Beacon 7. Good luck out there. Thank you, Captain, came the reply from the ship's human commander. We'll answer their call As the ship disappeared into fold space, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought them here. They had come to save strangers and ended up finding family. They had answered a call for help that wasn't quite what it seemed and discovered their true calling in the galaxy. Ambassador Zexai materialized beside them in a shimmer of light, her species' version of a friendly surprise visit. Captain Chen, I wanted to thank you once more for what your species has done. Sarah turned to face the alien diplomat. What have we done, exactly? You've reminded us of something we had forgotten, Zexai replied, her crystalline features reflecting the light from the construction work outside. That sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply answer when someone calls for help. She gestured toward the new ships being built, vessels designed for exploration and aid rather than war. Your fleet is just the beginning. The Confederation is establishing a new branch of our organization, the Emergency Response Fleet, ships specifically designed to answer distress calls from anywhere in the galaxy. Park smiled. Let me guess, you want humans to help run it. We want humans to lead it, Zexai corrected. After all, you're the ones who taught us that the right response to a cry for help is, we're on our way. Sarah looked out at the stars, no longer the empty void they had once seemed, but a vast community of worlds and species, all connected by the simple principle that when someone needs help, you answer the call. Admiral Hayes is going to love this, she said. As if summoned by her words, the Admiral's face appeared on the communication screen. Captain Chen, I've just received word from Earth. The President wants to establish a permanent human presence here in the Kepler system. You're being promoted to Admiral and given command of our first interstellar diplomatic mission. Sarah felt a surge of pride and responsibility. Understood, Admiral. We'll do our best to make humanity proud. You already have, Hayes replied, by showing the galaxy that when someone calls for help, humans answer. That's not a bad reputation to have. As the transmission ended, Sarah turned back to the viewport. In the distance, she could see the lights of the alien construction crews, working alongside human engineers. 2 months ago, humanity had been alone in the universe. Now they were part of something larger, something that valued compassion as much as strength. Dr. Webb joined her at the window. Admiral, we're receiving another signal. This one's from the Andromeda Galaxy. Apparently, word about our rescue. Mission has reached them, and they're asking if we'd be interested in some long-distance humanitarian work. Sarah Chen, newly promoted Admiral of humanity's first interstellar fleet, smiled at the stars that no longer seemed so far away. Tell them we're on our way.